Hi, this is Alan Gleeson for ADSR. Please subscribe to the ADSR YouTube channel for further tutorials. In this video we're going to talk about using reverb and delay together in series. Which comes first? Reverb and delay are part of every music production. Used both as inserts and bus effects, they provide the essential sense of space. They can be used in series or parallel, but when used in series, a question that is often asked is which comes first? The answer, as with most things in music production, is that there is no right or wrong answers. In this tutorial, we will look at the technique and some examples of combining these effects together. So generally speaking, reverb adds ambience and a sense of space, where delay adds echoes, usually clearly defined, that repeat a number of times. With that in mind, when routing reverb into delay, it adds echoes to the space you have created, and when you feed delay into reverb, it adds spaciousness to the repeating echo. Reverb can make things sound huge, as they are a combination of thousands of echoes, and delay can be more subtle, adding depth, especially if the echoes filter as they decay. But as you've probably discovered when you're using these effects, it's all material dependent. Is the source sustained or rhythmic? Are the sounds one-shots or impacts? Or maybe it's a crescendo. In this first example here, we're going to look at applying delay and reverb onto a snare drum. So my drum track here, have it soloed. And on the snare part here, I've got an effects chain set up here at the bottom. No effects are turned on at the minute, but I'll just turn up the send and feed some level into the effects chain. So the first effect I'm going to look at is an echo or delay effect. This is a free one from Valhalla. If I turn it on, I can adjust the delay time. So that's what that sounds like, and I'll turn on the reverb. So I've got a plate reverb here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the echo device to actually adjust the pre-delay. In some reverb units you will have a pre-delay, but in this one I don't. So I'm going to use the echo to control that. So you can hear as I turn it on. It alters the tone of the reverb. That's it by itself. Doing very little of the sound, causing a bit of comb filtering because it's a very short delay time. And as I adjust this, so what pre-delay can do in an effects chain is it can delay the onset of the effect. So if you're using quite a heavy processing, it can allow the clarity of the original hit to come through and then the effect to come afterwards. When we get to a certain point, you will actually hear the effect being echoed. We want the two effects to be blended together. So I'm delaying it there by a certain amount and delaying the onset of the reverb. I'm going to turn this one off and I'll switch over to another type of echo. So on this one here, I can dial in timings based on the tempo of the song. So you can hear the reverb being delayed by a 16th. But again, I want it to sound more natural. So it's the delay is delaying the signal by 1/32, so it's delaying the onset of the reverb. So if we listen to delay just by itself, just a short echo. And even if I turn up the feedback and add more echoes, at a certain point you will start to hear the echoes, but I'm actually almost at 80% there. So what it's doing is it's smearing the echoes in the reverb so we're not hearing them. So I'll turn off the reverb again. Let's see if we can hear them there. And if I change the routing, so if I put the reverb before the echo, now we're getting a more smeared result. But what's happening is that because we have no pre-delay, we're getting the reverb and the echo being applied immediately to the sound, which will affect the clarity of the first hit. So we'll switch that back. Prefer it that way. So by placing delay before the reverb, it extends the pre-delay, feeding the reverb, and you can get creative with that with different types of automation and modulation. Combining these effects can create complex results and give an instrument its own sonic world. But doing this for every sound in the mix can create a mess, with ambiances and echoes fighting for space. Contrast is often more effective. In this next example, we'll look at a soft pad stab, and we'll put reverb before delay. So I'll first listen to the sound soloed and without any effects on it. So again, I'm using the same reverb. So reverb by itself and the echo by itself. So because these effects are insert, I'm using my dry wet control to control the amount of the effect that's coming back into the chain. So by combining the two of them together, so we're getting echo on the reverb. If I extend the reverb time, it's already quite long. Sound starts to expand and get bigger. Reduce it. If I added some modulation to the echo, so I put some filter modulation and adjust my reverb time. What I can get as the sound is decaying, it's also filtering down and adding a sense of depth. Similar to sounds in the real world as they decay, or if a sound goes further away from you, the high frequencies become attenuated. If I change the order of the effects and put the reverb after the echo, now we're getting reverb on the echoes, add a bit more feedback. We're hearing distinct echoes there. So I switch it back again. Because now the reverb is before the echoes are actually clearer. Put the reverb back again, the end of the chain, and increase. So we're getting a bigger, more ambient sound. As the echoes continue, they become more smeared and washed out. So we're getting quite a long decay here now. I'm going to take the feedback down a bit, less echoes. And change the order back again. Make those echoes decay a bit more. Dial back on the reverb time, it's getting a bit out of control. So by changing the order, you control which effect has been smeared or which one has more definition. Having the reverb after the echo leads to longer decays and a sound that takes up more room in the mix. Having the reverb before the echo, depending on the feedback time of the echo, can often lead to more controlled sound. So adjusting the blend of the reverb to the echo. So a lot of variations are possible there. In the next example, I'm going to use a ping pong delay that can add even more depth and spaciousness to a part. In the example, we will listen to different routing options and compare the results. So I'll listen to the part by itself to begin with. As in the other examples, I could use inserts, a ping pong delay, and a reverb, and use the dry wet controls to blend in the amount of effect that I want to use. But often when we're using reverb and delay, we'll use them as bus effects. And this gives us more control over the amount of level that's been fed into the effects and when the effects enter and leave in the mix by automating our sends. So down on my return tracks here, on one of the tracks, I've got the reverb. I've also just got the ping pong just before it, but it's deactivated. And then on another track, I've got the ping pong delay. So if I route it to the first return, it's going into the reverb. I can turn on the ping pong as well. And now we have a similar effect that we had on our channel, but except I can adjust the blend here by using my send. On the second return track, I just have the ping pong delay. But I can also use my sends on my return tracks to affect what has been sent where. So I'll turn off the ping pong delay on the first return, and I'll go to the second return and feed some of that into the first. So now we're getting our dry signal being fed into the ping pong delay and then into the reverb. If I want to change the order of that, I take down my send it into the reverb first, and then on my reverb return I feed that into my delay. In either of these combinations we can also create a feedback loop by feeding the second return back into the first one. Obviously you don't want it too high or you'll get infinite feedback. But this is very useful for textural processing because adjusting either the parameters on either effect will create evolving changes in the signal chain. Change the order, so go into the delay first by using my altering the sends and adjust the feedback settings. So setting up the routing in that configuration gives us more control as the track evolves to set up the processing in different ways, reverb into delay or delay into reverb. The next example, I've got a synth part, and I just want to show here that sometimes it doesn't really matter what order the effects come in. Depending on the settings that you've made in the device, sometimes it doesn't make any difference. So I'll just swap these around. The difference often only becomes more apparent if there's modulation going on within a particular device or there's a lot of decay or feedback on a particular effect. We'll change the order. So it's altering the type of ambience that's been created. And which you prefer is down to personal preferences or maybe what works with the other parts in the track. So as I mentioned earlier, often when you're working this way, you don't want to apply this type of processing to all your tracks in the mix as it can become very muddy. So I'll put this all together. Various solutions to overcome this can be to adjust your dry wet settings on the actual devices. You can, on some devices, you will have controls over tonal effects. Like on this device here, I've got a simple low cut on other devices, you will have more advanced controls. If you don't have that type of control on the device, you can implement EQing or filtering at various stages in the processing chain. So either between the effects, before the effects, after the effects, or on a send channel. If I call up my returns again, if we're feeding into this channel and I want to affect the tone of the instrument, I can place an EQ before the effect. So I'm effectively EQing the send before it gets to the processing. So working with these two effects in series, you can create signature processing for the parts in your mix. Combined with modulation and automation, the effects processing themselves becomes a musical part in your arrangement. So I hope you found these examples useful and you can implement them in your mix. This has been Alan Gleeson for ADSR. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel for further tutorials, and I'll talk to you again soon.